Guess what? You may think we're super late, but we're not. We were actually just regular late, and then we started, and then I realized 5 minutes in that we weren't streaming.
Just talking for 5 minutes for no reason.
Just did the intro a whole bunch of times and sang some songs. It was super fun. But hey, guess what? It's Wait. Did I roll a wild? Your Marvel Crisis Protocol vlog. I'm still here in this chair. My name's Tim. I'll be your host this evening, and I am joined by my comrade, my co-host, my co-conspirator, and most importantly, my cohabitator, Dan.
Cohabitator of the basement?
Yeah, we both share a bucket there sometimes.
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
But, Rusty, good to see you.
I was getting worried.
So...
Tim's like, wait, are we not live right now?
Yeah, so...
The button's green.
Recording the podcast audio separately, right? I show that we are at 10 minutes and 30 seconds as far as show recorded. So who knows? Maybe the podcast version will be extra spicy and get to hear that all live. But, guys, it's Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? We come here every week live on Twitch at twitch.tv/professionalcasualnetwork to talk about some Marvel Crisis Protocol. This week, we're going to be talking about the new Blob and Pyro models, make some wild speculations about them. We're going to go over the new Sentinel Prime cards as well, which are absolute bangers.
Oh, yeah.
There was also some updates to the affiliation list and document this week as well. Not any massive surprises.
No
Actually,
surprises.
Pretty straightforward. But listen, there are updates. There's blue text there now, and new blue text, which is always worth mentioning.
And the one errata that we got hot breaking news last week during the stream. And now it's official in document.
Which is awesome. It's really nice when we can get that information like straight in chat from the people making it happen.
Super cool.
Which is pretty rad. In addition to that, we're going to be going over some games played and hobby thoughts. We're going to go over these incredibly cool Gold Friends tokens. You can see that there. Some of you have already picked these up on pre-order. If you had checked out our Patreon-only show last week, the cleanup phase, you got to hear kind of a whole bunch of behind-the-scene working-ons that have to do with some tokens and some sleeves that are coming out. The link for those will be in the description, but make sure to go over there and check that out because that's super exciting as well. What else? More games played, more hobby thoughts. Oh, we're going to talk about how rudely interrupted I was this past Monday on Oh Yea, the Power Phase.
For 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes straight of sound redemption interruptions, which honestly was... It got me speaking more accurately. I can't even speak accurately now.
I can't even say the word accurately.
PTSD from that. And Rusty, I know that you'll be receiving these yourself. So, but yeah, interrupted pretty consistently in very funny ways that also got us up and moving around. Every Monday night, we stream some Marvel Crisis Protocol here on Twitch at twitch.tv/professionalcasualnetwork. And we have a whole bunch of point redemptions where if you're unfamiliar with the stream or the show, we play some live Marvel Crisis Protocol, and you can affect the game. Alyssa in chat had apparently been stockpiling points for quite some time.
Yeah.
One of the point redemptions that we have on there is you can ban a reactive or active superpower on a character. She then proceeded to ban one power on every character in the game, and we both ran wide lists. I brought 6 characters, you had 5, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot of redemption of points.
It was brutal. It totally changed the game and how some characters played.
It very much did. Probably the only... I mean, actually, yeah, very legitimately on both sides. Radical changes to how those affiliations are played. I know me separating Groot and Rocket right out of the bat was like not something that normally happens.
No.
Rogue Agent Rocket just running around, just shooting guns at people with no protection whatsoever.
The most sad one for me was the first one, either the very first one or the first one she did to me when Ghost Rider lost Hell on Wheels.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sad.
Oh, that's right. Nebula and Moon Knight were, in fact, the only ones spared. Is it because they have no actives or reactives?
I'm pretty sure Moon Knights are all...
Oh, Moon Knight does have one reactive that lets him do something with mystic
but it's
attacks
only against
or something.
mystic attacks, and you didn't have any anyway.
Correct.
So there's no point in wasting the points to block it.
I do think Nebula does not have one. I think she's only innates.
I think so.
But anyway, it was an absolute blast. If you haven't checked that out yet, it'll be up on the YouTube tomorrow. It's still on the Twitch VODs right now if you do want to check that out. Good news is that incredible opener is right at the beginning. Some might call in the opening.
The first 10 minutes.
But dude, it was
I feel
awesome.
like it'd be a good like try not to laugh challenge.
It really would be.
Every time you're like,
well,
tables.
And sometimes too, like I would get to the point where it's like, oh, that'll finally be it. I tried to blow through reading out everything that was on Lovable Misfits and was like having seizures while doing it because I couldn't say Lovable Misfits.
I mean, that's hard to say anyway when you're
is.
trying to speak at 3 times speed.
So here's the thing too. I went to show my wife that when I got home that night. I was like, you have to watch this. And I was like, man, I really was talking fast. And she's like, you're on 3 times speed. And I was like, oh, that makes a little bit more sense.
You literally were.
But yeah, so let's jump right into it, Dan. Games played, hobby thoughts. What have you hobbied this week? Have you put brushes in buckets this week, or have you just not done that specific part of hobbying?
Correct.
Oh,
I have not done that specific part of hobbying.
This is news that we are definitely talking about for the first time.
It's only the first time we talked about not putting paints in buckets.
Yeah.
I did do some other type of hobbying after I went to a little local con over the weekend up in Glens Falls, New York, or Adirondack-Con.
Adirondack-Con.
It's fun to say. Anyway.
Whoa, Black Betty.
Apparently they do it twice a year. There's something about their spring event. So I was like, okay, I'll go back. It was a blast. I went to run a game of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Ended up with 6 players, which was sweet.
Yeah.
We had a great time. Definitely starting the story for the first time. One of the players, his name was Bear, which was awesome.
Heck yeah.
That's what it said on his name tag. And he had a big beard to match and everything. He picked the dwarf Troll Slayer.
Yes.
And he's looking at the folio of it, the information about the character, and he was like, oh, this is going to be fun. He likes to tell bad jokes. Like, literally says that as a part of his character description. So he just brings up a list of 250 dad jokes.
Oh, I love it.
And at the best times, he would drop one and be like, hey, did you know? Blah, blah, blah. It's so good. At one point, I was like, they're supposed to be bad jokes. These are legitimately funny.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wait, that's because I'm a dad and I like dad jokes.
Well, heck yeah.
But
so you had a good turnout?
There,
was it a good con? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a great time. Kind of wish I'd gone back for the second day. It was small, but it was like cozy.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely room for that to grow.
Like an Adirondack cabin.
Yeah. I got to play a game that a guy was like play testing. He's going to put up on Kickstarter soon. I played, I can't never remember what it's called for some reason.
3-Card Monty.
No, not that one.
Oh.
But there was a local to that area game store. It was like half an hour away. Was there, and he had a bunch of MCP overstock stuff.
Yeah.
So I got the Rivals panels box for half off.
That's a stellar deal, actually.
I think it was even more than that. He gave it to me for $25.
That sounds like it's got to be more than 50% off. Wasn't that?
I'm pretty sure that was 60. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what is it, like 30, 35? He's like, I'll give it to you for 25. And I was like, done. Yes. Worth it just for that awesome Dr. Octopus model.
Yeah, for real.
So I assembled and primed him. That's as far as I got. But
all right.
I was like, oh, maybe I'll play Spider Foes on Monday. I was like, no, I don't have time to paint this model. But maybe next time I'm on.
All right, so maybe you didn't put brushes in buckets, but you did put some paste on a base.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did prime. So I guess technically I spray painted.
And
so
you glued it
paint.
you glued it to the base, right?
I glued them all together, yeah.
Yeah, some paste on the base.
I didn't glue Spider-Man yet. One of the web things broke on the sprue, which is a little too bad. But I don't want to paint another Spider-Man anytime soon anyway.
Well, it's normally your goal. You're gonna burn them, aren't you? So you have better luck on Oh Yeah, the power phase.
That's gonna. I feel like it's constantly becoming a more deep cut.
Yeah.
Because it was like that one time. Just, happened to burn an egg spider sack.
Yeah.
I think it was about a year ago now.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
I
think I got a Facebook notification. It's like a 1-year anniversary of that time Dan burned some spiders and did very well.
How do you know they were still in there? But I didn't realize how awesome the cards are in that pack.
Oh.
The foil character cards.
Yeah.
They look so cool. I should have brought it down here to show you, but I didn't think of it.
You know what? Someone had them at Adepticon, I feel like.
Oh, yeah?
The Ravels panel had just come out, and there was a Dr. Octopus that someone brought for Spider Foes that had it. And I was like, yo, where'd you get that? And he's like, oh, it's in the Rivals box. And I was like, wait, really?
Yeah, they're super cool. And then it comes with all art cards for, like, all webbed up. a couple of other ones, Well Laid Plans, and another one I forget.
Yeah.
But they look cool. So I was like, sweet. Maybe eventually I'll assemble that terrain thing. Maybe I'll give it to Taylor so we can use it next year,
Yeah.
next fall.
So Taylor's been, I think he finished up the core set terrain for me. So I'm going to be having that for pictures and stuff soon, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
And I know he's deconstructing a Quinjet for me as well, which will be rad as heck.
I'm really excited for that, for the Quinjet to be a few smaller pieces of terrain.
Yeah.
And just a crash, broken Quinjet. I think that'll tell a cool story on the table.
Yeah. Super dig it. As far as hobby stuff this week, so every week I talk about how I'm, did something, and then the joke is that my wife did it, or Taylor did it, or Chuck did it.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be different this week.
Your mother-in-law did it?
No, but while it wasn't a model, my back porch did get painted, the floor of it, with a textured paint, so that in the winter when it gets slippery, it's a little bit easier to grip onto.
How many pots of basing?
Several,
paint
like a lot, and it's not.
Those are like $7-8 a pot.
Correct. Yep. So, and it's surprisingly not a lot of surface area that it covers.
Would you go with Astro Granite?
I went with
Rise of Dust?
Gracier, and then I dumped a bunch of the texture.
Oh, tiny D4s.
I mean, listen, it's got grip. And it wasn't my wife that did it. It wasn't Chuck. It wasn't Taylor. It wasn't my mother-in-law or my mom. So I'm pretty proud of my dad for doing that.
I was gonna say.
He has COVID right now. He came over and did that.
Are you serious?
Listen.
Why would he do it while...
I don't know. He was like, I'm coming over to paint. Don't come out because I have COVID. And I was like, Dad, stay at home and rest, please.
Just go home.
You don't have legs. You need to be careful.
I was like, where is he going with this? Because in the group chat, Lindsay told you to go in the front door because the back was painted. I was like,
Yeah.
He didn't do that if she had to warn him.
No, I did not. But yeah, I called him on the way home today to make sure how he was. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like energized. I'm like, need to go out and get stuff done. And I was like, you need to settle down.
It should take a minute.
Old man. But yeah, so that's what I was adjacent to this week as far as hobby stuff. I did move all of my assembled models to a shelf at a different side of my desk.
How many did you break?
Well, out of those models, none.
Oh, wow.
I did break Daredevil's rope for his batons.
That's a sad story.
So it's still connected, like in the back, like it goes behind his back, and then there's nothing there. So like really, like if you take a picture of it from the right angle, it doesn't look broken. So
I want to give a quick shout out to was it Axel Bullet in the chat? It said that those really cool folio cards in the Rivals pack are one reason why Spider-Man and Doc Ock didn't get the update in November.
That makes sense. Do you think that we'll get an update, like if they do another update? Probably, maybe not this year, because I think we would have seen something about that potentially happening by this point, but maybe next spring.
I don't know, because I'm not sure. I feel like AMG's kind of... I feel like they've kind of said that they're doing it the one time.
Yeah.
Because it was mostly the real early stuff, or there were some really obvious ones like Medusa that need to be toned down a little bit.
Yeah. And to be fair, there's not a bunch of whole like heavy outliers out there anymore. After that update, it's really
the X-Men is really it.
I mean, the X-Men, they're constantly winning events and tournaments and conventions. Like they're not bad.
True. That's the loudest complaints are about X-Men. Colossus, Wolverine, Cyclops specifically.
Right.
Thor.
Well, is Colossus not good, or is
but...
Luke Cage too good of a Colossus?
That's an entirely fair question.
Right.
I just think the big thing is that concussive trigger.
It's a little underwhelming
on Colossus and Cyclops is just not good.
Yeah.
You roll wild and they lose one power, even though you're probably doing damage and giving them power. Like that is probably the weakest part there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really wish Colossus Spender had a throw.
Yeah, but once again,
but other than that, I think he's fine.
Yeah, I don't think
it's just I want there to be more. Does he need more as a 4 threat? I don't know.
And then you have characters like Rogue, right, that are just good wherever you put her, even as a 4. I'm really excited to see what happens with the new Weapon X program affiliation.
Yes.
I know the top of a lot of people's lists has been Ajax. Everyone's super keen on Ajax being released, or even just teased would be incredible. I know he's just one of those characters that everyone's like, Ajax, I definitely remember him.
I see him every month in the wish list post.
Yeah.
It's a number of people
Yep. And it's in
wish for Ajax.
right, but unfortunately, it's in a list of cleaning supplies to remove paint from their current models. They're like,
Right.
yeah, get some green. Oh, what's it called?
Simple Green.
Simple green. Get some Ajax. Maybe some bleach and ammonia. Just mix those together. Leave it in a room.
Don't do that.
Don't
do that for legal reasons and health reasons.
That's
Don't
a
do
joke.
that.
Yeah, for legal reasons, that's a joke.
It will kill you.
But
Do not mix those things together in a room.
or anywhere really. I mean,
Not outside. Outside would be better, but
I don't think better is the type of word you want to put on that. Personally,
just don't ever do
But-
whatever.
So anyway,
Don't mix those
AMG put
things.
out some new Sentinel cards this week. We got 3 absolute bangers, and I believe these are coming in the
Mark IV box.
the Mach. Oh, hey, Mark, 4 box. So we have 3 Directive 1 efficient machines and the old scrap metal. Jumping right in, Directive 1. It's a Sentinel's affiliation card. It is a reactive. All of these are actually Sentinel affiliation reactives. But this first one, during the power phase, allied Sentinels characters may each spend 1 power. If at least 2 power was spent this way, you may play this card. Until the end of the round, enemy characters do not benefit from the stealth superpower and cannot reroll or modify defense dice. Additionally, allied characters do not require line of sight to target enemy characters with attacks until the end of the round. Couple huge points on this card. First, goodbye, Black Cat. You're gone.
Again.
But
I hate when you take away your stealth.
it's awesome, isn't it?
No.
But this is, like, with Marked for Death, you need 2 people within range 5. Not super difficult to do. But they both spend 1 power, and it's just for that turn, I believe. Maybe it is for the round. Let's double check that.
Pretty sure it's the round.
But this is...
Marked for death this round, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it does last the round. Oh, yeah, because it moves him short. Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, yeah, it lasts a round.
But this is everybody, all the time, not one character. You're only spending literally no more power on this compared to Marked for Death. Granted, it's Sentinels only. But
It's only 2 power, though.
It's
and Sentinels get
awesome.
a bunch of power.
Awesome. Malekith, who can not have stealth. Never mind.
No, but
Can he modify his defense
yeah,
dice?
cannot reroll or modify defense dice.
Yeah.
Which he certainly can do.
Correct. No more skull crits.
Yeah. It's super good. And for the round, it only costs 2 power.
Mm-hmm. And 2 different models. It's stellar. It's super cool. It's super thematic too, as far as them zeroing in and just there's no place to hide. They're ripping the roof off a building.
Mm-hmm. As usual, super thematic.
Yeah, you're hiding around a building, right? And the tentacle like comes around and grabs you anyway because they don't even need line of sight on you. It don't matter.
It don't matter.
It don't matter.
I love when these cards say if at least 2 power was spent this way.
You can spend more if you want.
Like why? What? I feel like why isn't there something like if you spend more, you get something else? Or there's already a lot on this card, but
Yeah.
like, so why isn't it just your characters spend 2 power? You know, because another one that's I can't remember which one that's like that. It's like if you spend power off different characters, if you spend at least 6, then you get to do this.
Here's the thing. Think about it this way. You have a Sentinel. He has some hammers,
Beep boop.
right? So he has to spend extra power on that card.
Okay.
So now one character spending the 2 power satisfies it, even though they were forced to. I think that might be wrong, but
If you spend at least 2, well, if it's
If
at least
at
2
least
was
2 was
spent,
spent that way.
this way,
right?
I don't think the spending extra for the hammer counts.
Why not? At least 2 was spent this way.
You're not spending the. Well, I guess you are spending the power to play the card, huh?
Yeah, right. I'm sure it doesn't actually like legitimately get around it, but in my mind, it does.
And there's a little bit of an argument there. We'd have to go back and forth between the 2 cards and maybe looking at the base rules about spending power for
When a character
Crisis card.
plays a team tactics card, they must pay 1 additional power for each hammer they're holding. I don't know. I can see it.
You have to spend at least 2 and then an additional 1.
I don't know. Probably. Yeah. Yeah. But what if?
But
right?
still, it's just funny to me that it's not just spend 2 power between, 2.
Yeah.
However you want to word it more specifically, because specificity in language is important.
It really is. The thing I really like about this card in Sentinels, though, too, right, is if you're running Sentinels, you're probably running significantly fewer models than your opponent, right? This helps the Sentinels for a single round, get around a lot of the things that could really waste your actions.
Yes.
Not having line of sight, having characters with stealth.
Whoa, thanks, Lemmy.
Someone being able to... Oh, wow. Thank you, Broadcastle. Lemmy, wow.
Hi, Broadcast audience. Welcome.
Lemmy and I had a really good conversation today on Discord.
Oh,
He's
nice.
an incredibly helpful fellow.
He is. I like Lemmy a lot.
But if you're just joining us from Broadcastle, we are talking about some Marvel Crisis Protocol for a show called Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? It's a Marvel Crisis Protocol vlog. We're talking about the Sentinels cards that just came out this week. And it should be a pretty dang old good time. But, so...
What do we got next here?
Are there so why don't you go ahead and talk about some machines that are really efficient?
Sure.
It has Cassandra Nova in it, so I was kind of jazzed to read it, but then I read that first one. So just enjoy this, because Cassandra Nova is awesome.
All right, so what's this one called again?
Efficient Machines.
Thank you. I like this one already because Cassandra Nova and Sentinels just goes right back to the beginning, the Grant Morrison run on New X-Men, which I think is stellar. So, again, Sentinels affiliation reactive. During the power phase, an allied Cassandra Nova may spend 3 power to play this card. Until the end of this round, again, allied Sentinel characters within 3 of Cassandra Nova treat blocks as wilds.
I think it's rad as heck, right?
Awesome.
That's super great on attacks, right? Not super impactful on defenses, but it is for the full round.
Yes.
You spend it in the power phase, it's going to end significantly later. You just get more wilds. Very specifically for a lot of your triggers too, like on the Sentinels, who can
trying to get to real quick.
Apply a whole bunch of different effects based off of the amount of wilds they roll on their attacks.
There's Sentinel Mark IV. I was looking for Mark IV Sentinel.
Very specifically, the suppression protocols.
Right. So for each, they can apply. You're using that for each wild you roll. You can add a different effect, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
So it makes them even more offensive, which they're already pretty good at doing damage. Turning those blocks into wilds is sweet.
Super sweet. Some might say the sweetest.
And 3 power from Cassandra Nova is not that big of a deal because
she gets 2 during the power phase.
Does she? I thought it was Jean. Doesn't Jean get extra power, but she doesn't? Cassandra Nova.
Oh, maybe Cassandra Nova's not the one that does, but
no, but she has healing factor, so she can take more damage and gain power more easily. And actually, she has sap on her builder.
Pretty decent amount of health too.
Yeah, she's got a lot of.
And
health.
know she's taking damage because she doesn't have defense rolls.
Right, and she's sapping power from people. 3 power is not a big. You're not going to use this until round 2 or 3 anyway.
Right.
3 power off Cassandra Nova is not a big deal.
No, not at all. So the last new card AMG revealed this week is Scrap Metal.
I love this one.
Also super rad because it also has Cassandra Nova on it. But, and quick aside, Cassandra Nova is also on Efficient Machines. We see Angel on Directive 1.
Yeah, well, we saw him on, I think it's First Class? Children of the Atom? First Class.
Yep.
Because it's the original 5. But it's cool to see him there in his X Factor costume, the red and white.
Yeah, which means he might be in X Factor.
An Angel and Iceman box?
Probably. But so Scrap Metal is another Sentinels card. It is a reactive, and this is actually super thematic, super cool. I actually really dig this one. When an allied character with the Sentinel programming superpower would be KO'd. So that's any Sentinel that's not Cassandra Nova.
Right now it's the Mark IV or the Prime.
It may spend 2 power to play this card. Roll 5 dice. 50% chance here. So we have hits, crits, and wilds. If you roll any of those or any amount of those, all other characters within range 2 of that character that play this suffer 1 damage. Additionally, all other characters within range 2 of the character that played this card gain the stun special condition. The character that played this card is then KO'd.
Love it. He just blows up.
He just blows up.
Kaboom.
And he stuns them all.
He auto stuns and can't do damage.
Correct.
He's dying anyway. You don't have to spend any power because they're getting KO'd regardless. But you take a few out with you. I love it.
Correct. Rusty brings up Sentinels, online and operational, plus scrap metal, plus Ultron, plus Age of Ultron. A roster that never dies and you don't want to kill anyway.
Right?
Yeah. Who was it?
Ghost Rider in there too.
In the What If event at NashCon, Ben ran a list that had everyone that could come back to life. So he had Hela, Ultron, and Ghost Rider.
Oh,
and
that's so good.
It was like, I don't want to attack any of these people. They're just
I'm going to do it again anyway.
Right.
That's great. No, I love this one. Again, so thematic. You hit the Sentinel in the wrong spot and it blows up and does damage back to you.
And I mean, especially if you're using the Sentinels to pull people in, or you're using Cassandra Nova to really like set up people for something like this, if you know one's going to go down, and it's not dazed, it is KO'd.
Yeah.
But if that guy's going, you might as well take as many people as you can with you.
Absolutely worth it for tactics cards.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's maybe not even a bring every time, but like just an awesome, cool card that could be really devastating if someone actually takes them out. Like even just to psych out your opponent, it'd be like, I still have scrap metal right here.
And it's one of those where you know your Sentinel's on its last legs, so you just rush it in there to get close to a whole bunch and be like,
"Yep,
hit me, I dare you." And they're like, "Well, you're gonna score a point here, or I can take you down, but I'm gonna get stunned and probably take damage." I like it a lot.
I'm super excited to see like max damage that happens in something like this. If you run against a wide list on like Gamma or something where everyone's clustered up and you get a Sentinel in there that's just potentially, I mean, if he gets 3 or 4 targets in that area, a maximum of 5 damage, 50% chance on average, only 2.5 to 3 damage per character that they're rolling against.
It's brutal. Can be brutal.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a rocket gone. You know what I mean? At below average.
See you, Toad.
Bye.
I'll see you, injured MODOK.
Oh, no! That would be terrible, wouldn't it?
Could you imagine?
Injured MODOK takes out that Sentinel finally, and then he's gone also.
I can't wait for these things to come out. I saw they have them in Canada.
The Sentinels?
Yeah, a game store in Canada I went to when we went to Mini Wargaming. I follow on Facebook, and they had a picture of their stuff in, and they had just the Prime, and I think Red Skull. I didn't see the Mark IVs.
Okay.
But I was like, I want them.
Yeah.
I want them too.
Hey, game store in Canada that Dan went to a while ago when he went to that thing. Hook us up?
Max Aggression Gaming.
Max Aggression.
But, Beer Dragon Games and Comics will have it next week.
That's true. And if you want, maybe you head over to Beer Dragon Games online and pre-order it before Anthony forgets to take the discount down. You'll get an automatic 15% off the Sentinels, Red Skull, Master of Hydra, the new Rival set with Sabretooth and Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
And
Blob and Pyro.
Blob and Pyro. Speaking of Blob and Pyro, looks like they're up on the store. We have a release date, December 9th, which also happens to be the weekend that we're going to be at Everwinter.
Yeah.
So if you haven't checked that out, I talked to the guys there today. Tickets are, in fact, moving pretty quickly, and there are only about 15 rooms left total. So that number, I can guarantee you, has already decreased since I found out that information, because there was only 100 in the room block total, and there's only 15 left.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big facility.
That's awesome.
So downtown Boston, the weekend of December 10th, Wicked Dicey is putting on the Everwinter convention. There's going to be a big MCP tournament. There's AOS. There's Infinity. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. We will be there streaming it all weekend as well.
I can't wait.
There's also going to be painting seminars, streaming seminars, and there's a whole bunch of other really cool stuff to do there. I would highly suggest checking it out. Come out, hang out with us, especially if you're somewhere in that general area. Tickets right now are on discount, as are the rooms. Once that room block is full, though, it's like $100 off per room per night.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to get in there and get those now. Once again, that is wickeddicey.com is where you can get all the information for it, and that will be the weekend of December 10th and 11th. And come hang out with us. It'll be a grand old time. I think we're gonna have Taylor, Dan, and myself. We'll see. There might be other surprise people as well. Dylan Dyer's gonna be there. Should be a a dang old good old time.
Yeah, I know Danny plans on going as long as we can get kid coverage.
Heck yeah.
We should be able to because my mom
Just get a big blanket.
That far to cover them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just boop. Or a bunch of foliage.
Right. There's Baba Yaga's out there selling cursed dice every con. It seems like someone's gonna have them.
It really is.
Cursed, like in that they roll way too good.
For now, you do have to give up something else later, but it's normally not too bad. It's normally like no successes ever rolled on spenders. At a future date, though, not during that particular convention.
Right. Or just for like a month, you never rolled the wild trigger.
Correct.
On attacks.
Which is why you need efficient machines. Because, Baba Yaga is going to force you to roll a bunch of blocks on your attack. You might as well turn them into wilds. And as always, thank you for Wraith for reminding us about Baba Yaga and her janky dice.
I love it. She follows us to all these cons. It's kind of weird.
It is. But listen, Yaga's got to make a living too, So, all right, Dan. A little while ago, you wrote a blog, which you could find at professionalcasual.com under the blog section, about your speculation for Blob and Pyro.
Yeah.
Now that we've seen kind of the cycle that AMG does, where they'll put out the shop link, and then normally the next week or maybe the week after, very realistically, we might be getting some Blob and Pyro in the next week or two.
I hope to get their
reveals.
panel to play next week. Would be sweet.
Have any of your thoughts changed on the speculations that you made in that blog article, especially seeing Human Torch and stuff released?
Right.
Or are you buckling down? Are you blobbing down?
I'm mostly blobbing down
on your previous blobbiting.
I feel like some of the stuff I speculated on Pyro kind of came on Human Torch, where his attacks are beam. So I had said like he's just gonna have a basic like range 4 builder, and his spender will be like a strength 8 range 3 beam, which isn't too far off a Human Torch. I like the idea of something like if he starts his activation near like within 2 or 3 of anybody with Incinerate, he can gain power. Human Torch is something similar to that. Obviously, I hope they do enough to make them feel different, even though they're 2 fire dudes.
Yeah.
Like, Pyro doesn't have flight. There's a difference. Pyro does wear an insulated suit, so I could see him having a little more stamina than Human Torch.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that it is range, that he's also going to be 3 threat.
Well, that's the thing, right?
To fit.
So I don't disagree there, but because Human Torch being a 3 threat, I'm almost curious if they'll make Pyro a 2 or a 4. Just to differentiate him a little bit. Or will that turn into a Luke Cage and Colossus thing where they just get compared and scrutinized even more?
Too much, yeah.
Because they're at that point.
I mean, Human Torch is about shooting fire.
Mm-hmm.
Pyro's ability, Pyro can't even make fire. He manipulates it.
Correct.
So he has to, that's why he always wears flamethrowers on his back.
Yeah.
Right? He wears an insulated suit because he's not actually immune to fire. So he always asks incinerate.
He always asks fire where its phone is and won't let fire use its phone without its passwords. And, always assumes that fire is out dating someone else when really they're just at work or with their friends.
Right.
Pyro manipulates fire.
Jeez. Actually, he should be immune to incinerate because he wears that insulated suit.
Here's what I'm going to say. Not really, but threat 6 Pyro.
Oh, God.
Because
he's immune to poison?
Because he's going to be immune to poison.
Oh, man.
I think out of the 2, because of that suit, they're going to make Pyro immune to poison, and OG Human Torch will not be immune to poison.
Even though he's a robot.
Yeah.
But no, I think Pyro's going to be a pretty standard turret. Like, he's going to be there to do damage, deal out Incinerate, and maybe gain some power from Incinerate near him.
Yeah.
To do a bigger fire attack. Kind of like, he gets some out there with his flamethrowers, and he kind of brings it back to himself, and then, like, puts it back. Because he's got a cool attack he does in the comics called Dragon Breath.
Yes!
So that's his spender. Calling it. So Caw!
Here's what I'm going to call. Pyro will have a special condition that he has to apply to himself to increase the abilities of all his attacks. That they will be very mundane at first until he gets the fire going. Then he'll get cool. like a burning up or a something token, and he can spend that token on other attacks to give them either more dice or additional effects or something along those lines. He'll have like a binary form kind of.
So similar to like a loaded token.
Yes.
But would it be you can get multiple of them, so you can like build them up on himself.
So once again, a little bit out there, but
I like it.
he'll be all about putting Incinerate on people, and then being able to pull Incinerate off of enemies to be able to do other cool stuff with it.
I like that a lot.
He's got to pull it back. Like he can get it on there, but then he's got to take it back off to do other stuff with it.
Because he needs to use the fire that's already out there.
Correct.
I like it a lot.
I would super dig that.
I also want him to be, I don't think he should be a long move, but I want him to have some kind of movement thing.
Yes.
Anything. Just because in the X-Men arcade game from the early 90s, the first boss, Pyro, the way he would jump around drove me crazy because he was so fast. So
also he needs flaming boomerangs because he's Australian or whatever.
he is Australian,
yeah. And it wasn't until you mentioned the arcade game that I remembered his voice. I was like, oh yeah, he's Australian. I forget about that.
I don't remember what he says in that game. Because Blob is the second boss, and he goes, nothing can move the Blob.
Yeah.
And then he just stands in the corner and hits you with a mace.
I mean, there's just so many incredibly memorable sounds in that game. Between the Welcome to Die or
Wendigo.
So that's exactly what I was going to the Wendigo. Like,
I can't remember Juggernauts.
Was Juggernaut in that?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Are you for real? For real?
Yeah.
Was he like a later villain?
Yeah.
Oh, and Mystique was there too, right?
Yes.
I also forget. Like, you know what I mean? Those first couple levels.
I feel like it was before Juggernaut was as much of a big deal in the comics. Like, he was around for like since the beginning, but he was just kind of in the background for a long time.
Before he was hitting Charles with Charles. Yeah. It was kind of a different era. Remember that video from the 90s about the Juggernaut and who he is specifically?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to hit you with Charles. And he picks up Professor X and hits someone else with Professor X. That was really good.
What about everybody, every chubby kid's favorite character because they felt represented in comics a little bit at least?
Yeah.
Until Butterball.
I was going to say Gold Balls is really where I was finally like, all right, that's a body type that I really identify with. Yep.
But Butterball's right there too.
And I grew up looking exactly like Blob from X-Men Evolution.
Oh, I don't remember that. I have to look that one up quick because I can't remember what he looked like in that.
Yeah, he was a fat kid with like overalls and like spiky yellow hair. But yeah, so how about Blob? So I believe right?
Okay.
It's a little
got a mohawk too.
It's a little uncanny. But now Blob, on the other hand. Now in your article, did you say he was a 3 or a 4? I can't remember.
4.
A 4.
I think he's gonna be a 4 threat.
Yeah.
He's gonna be very similar to Ursa Major.
Oh.
Not a charge.
Right.
Or anything. He's not gonna have anything moving. He's gonna be slow move, obviously. Come on. But he'll have damage reduction 2, like Hood possessed.
Oh, yeah.
And
immune to bleed?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think he can bleed.
Okay.
Can
he?
I don't see him having any immunities.
Okay. Immune is slow.
Right. But I know Chuck had a big thing where he thought he'd have like a sort of like martial prowess, some kind of attack back.
Yeah.
As like with his plasticine body. There may have been something in the blog, I can't remember now. Something about like classic image from the cartoon where Rogue just punches him in the gut and gets her arm stuck.
Yeah.
Right? Like something like that where he has some way to manipulate the attacker's dice in addition to his damage reduction. He's going to be so difficult to bring down, but he doesn't do a ton of damage back.
Right.
He'll have a strength 5 strike builder and like a haymaker type.
Well, or maybe
spender.
So like Rusty says in chat that he thinks he'd be like Lizard but without regen.
Similar, yeah.
I guess I wouldn't be shocked if his strike is strength 4, similar to Lizard's. Maybe it doesn't.
Okay. Well, Lizard doesn't
have the range.
3 threat, so that's
fair.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'd even be fine with that. Like Blob shouldn't be there to dish out a ton of damage.
Correct.
Like his spender should be pretty good. I could see like a 7 dice physical
with a throw or something
builder,
on
maybe
wild
with a throw.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna be like Blizzard. Then he's gonna be really basic. He's not gonna have a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna be super difficult to move, and he'll have an innate that he cannot be moved by superpowers or mystic attack. I mean, he shouldn't be able to be thrown either.
Yeah.
Like literally, his superpower is he can't unless his strength of will keeps him in place. The pull of gravity increases on him so much that he can't be moved. So, like, he shouldn't even be able to be thrown.
I completely agree.
I think it should be a size 4 or 5 just because of maybe even make him think. Maybe he'll be size 5, even though he'll be like the size of
like an
Omega Red.
adamantium skeleton thing, where like he counts as being a size or 2 bigger for the
Maybe,
effects
yeah.
of throws and pushes. I could see, as far as the attack back thing, or like the rogue punching him in the stomach and her being sucked in a little bit, maybe having a reactive where, like a judgment or something, where he pays upon being attacked and provides slow back to the attacker. if
Okay,
it's within range
I could see
too.
that.
I really like the martial prowess idea. Maybe not doing damage back with status effects or something along those lines. You thinking a tanked mystic defense, like a 2 mystic defense?
Yeah, he's got
to
no
balance out
no
the really
actual,
high. Yeah,
Yeah, because a 4, I think 4-4-2 for defenses, and like 7-7 health, like Ursa Major. Like
Yeah.
he should have a ton of health. Definitely damage reduction 1. I'd love to see 2, just because now that we know that's like a possibility, I'd like to see that a little more often, just for something like Blob should not be easy to get off the table.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, he should be around for a hot minute.
Yeah. Like Blob is actually pretty powerful.
Yeah.
In the comics, like he actually has super strength. His weird plasticine body does all kinds of crazy stuff, and he can't be moved as long as he like has the willpower to do it. Like he actually has a lot of superpowers.
Yeah. So Axel brings up a really cool point too in chat, where as far as thematicness or telling that story, right? Him not being able to be moved by physical or energy attacks.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
And that makes a ton of sense. He could be moved by the mystic attacks, just not anything else.
Yeah, that makes a lot.
Because you can absolutely convince him to go do something. I think White Queen did quite a bit, didn't she? Or
Probably,
someone did, or Vertigo or something. But
just imagine Captain America's not going to go up and flip Blob over his shield.
No.
But Cassandra Nova could be like, go over there.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, okay, I can't. I don't know.
Correct. I don't know if we've ever seen this in the 90s show or in comics, but I love the idea of a Sentinel wrapping that tentacle out of his palm around Blob and not being able to, like, pull him anywhere.
Yeah.
Just it struggling and ripping off the Sentinel arm over moving Blob is just a really cool thought to me.
And that would make a lot of sense, because we know how much they lean on the themes of it, like Juggernaut losing his helmet when he flips and having a much lower mystic defense. Blob, 2 or 3 mystic defense I think is reasonable, but I really like Axel's idea there, where you can't punch him out of the way, but you could mess with his head.
One thing I'd like to see, a Tactus card similar to Chimichanga's, right? Where one of my favorite things of Blob was from the 90s cartoon, where Storm and Rogue are flying over a carnival. And I know I've told this story again, several times, but Rogue and Storm are flying over like a carnival. They're looking for Blob and Toad that are like up to no good. And Blob is just eating these massive, like, huge car-sized vats of ice cream. He's like, no, you can't have any. And then he throws it at Rogue and just takes her out of the air.
It's so good.
If there was a Tactus card like Chimichanga that's just called No, You Can't Have Any, or something like that, where you just throw a, size 3 piece of ice cream at somebody.
He just has it with him.
He just has it. He
doesn't need terrain around him.
That's his loaded token. He comes in with 1 ice cream token.
I also want him to have some kind of innate or maybe reactive superpower that is Barkeeper of the Green Lagoon. I'm not sure what to do yet.
Yeah.
We know they're going 90s. Obviously, he's got the jumpsuit, so he's not bartender Blob. But I kind of want to see it on there anyway.
I'm a little unfamiliar with this reference.
Oh, so the Krakoan era,
recent stuff.
Yeah, current X-Men stuff. The Krakoan era, Dawn of X, what do you want to call it? Blob lives on Krakoa with all the mutants, and he doesn't really take part in missions or whatever. But he's the barkeeper for their bar called the Green Lagoon.
I really like that.
And everybody loves Blob.
Yeah.
I think he just goes by Fred anymore. He doesn't really go by Blob anymore. But I think some people call him that because that's what they're used to. But I don't know, something on there for barkeeper of the Green Lagoon as like an innate or maybe a reactive.
I like that. What would it be though?
And he always wears a big old like Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, I love it!
Right?
I actually super dig that. All right.
I love the Krakoan era. It's so good.
So the assumption is they're both 3s. If they go a different route, I'm sorry.
I'm assuming Blob will be a 4.
A 4.
Because of the increased stamina, mostly.
Yeah. All right. I don't hate it. What is his, I don't know. What do their Tactus cards do?
What happened? You turned to the Sarah there.
Yeah, no way.
Oh man, tactics cards.
Something that applies Incinerate to everyone for Pyro, like within a range, right? Like an elemental infusion or something along those
Yeah,
lines.
similar to the Human Torch one, where
Yeah.
it's just like everybody within 3 gets Incinerate.
Yeah,
But
but that
every
was
enemy,
real good.
any
'cause-
enemy within 3, because Pyro can control where the fire's going.
Yeah.
Maybe
that.
as long as maybe it's if there's an enemy character within 3 with Incinerate, he can then spread it to every other enemy character within 3 of that one.
Like a contagion effect, like Baron Mordo. I
Yeah.
actually really dig
Just
that. Yeah.
he spreads it out from there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Blob is tougher, other than the ice cream. I like that as a
Right.
tactics card because he only gets it once.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to be near terrain. He just has a size 2 piece of terrain he can throw medium.
Yeah. Just yeet it. Really
Woo!
yeet it.
Actually, talk for a second. I'm gonna look up what the names of the cards that come with them are.
Oh,
We can speculate off the name of the
yeah.
card.
I guess I didn't know we had all the names of the cards. I actually really like that a
Oh,
lot.
actually, maybe not, because I was looking the other day. So, on the shop post,
Mhm.
on the Asmodee's shop,
Yeah.
you can find out like the release date and whatnot. But in the gallery on AMG's site, you can see
Ooh.
like what cards are included. Last I looked, they weren't on the gallery yet,
Okay.
which is a little surprising. I looked a few days ago, so they might be now. So I'll take a moment to see, because if we can get the name of the cards,
Well, and the
we can
other
get better speculation.
That's true. And so while Dan's looking that up, the other thing that happened this week is we did get some updates to the rules documents, and one of those being the affiliation list. So probably not any massive shockers here, but as far as all of the blue updates to that particular document, we do have Cabal receiving Red Skull Master of Hydra. No huge shockers there, but we do have Sentinel Prime MK4, Sentinel MK4, and Cassandra Nova on the Sentinels, as well as Red Skull Master of Hydra on the Hydra affiliation. If you were curious if Punisher was still the only unaffiliated, he is. But
The only one that was even remotely surprising was Red Skull being on Cabal, which
On
was
Cabal.
like, yeah, of course he is. That actually not surprising.
well, I mean, and finally we have other leaders now that are really impressive and affecting kind of the game as a whole. I know one of the Cabal leaders has really kind of been making a whole bunch of waves in the community after she killed a She-Hulk on stream. Sin,
Yeah, Sin. Been a big
way
deal.
way up there. So, especially with last week, if you checked out the episode where we were talking about the new Hydra cards, which are awesome.
Yeah, for real.
Had kind of only anticipated maybe talking for 10 minutes on those, and I think we talked for like 40 minutes on them
At
instead.
least half an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a lot, too.
There was, and they were thematic, and they were, I mean, the artwork on them was incredible. And
Grunts on grunts.
there's just everything in there. Yeah, actually, I think this isn't news, but every card that we read and went over last week, I just at the end of it, I was like, oh, Hail Hydra,
Yeah,
like
yep.
they're stellar. And these Sentinels ones, same deal, right? Where they're on point, they're telling the story, they're doing exactly what they should.
Mm-hmm. That's what tactics cards should be there for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looking through, they're not on the gallery yet. They're CP82.
Okay.
And they're not. There's a gap there. So I don't know the names of the cards yet.
Yeah, so I guess I wouldn't be shocked if Blob had something that was like actually, and maybe it's borrowing too much from Juggernaut, but something where he can move short and strike,
That'd be
maybe
cool.
off cycle or as a defense, maybe a bodyguard, or a chuck, the old a yeet card where he can yeet something.
Yeet. I also like the idea of one that I just thought of a second ago and then it left my head.
Oh, that one was actually probably pretty forgotten.
You said something like Juggernaut.
Yeah, that I felt Blob's cards would probably borrow heavily from Juggernaut. He'll either have a long throw or a short move and then an attack, maybe
Now
a
it's
bodyguard.
I had something. Now it's gone.
Maybe it'll be called Do You Know Who I Blob?
Do you know who I blob?
But what else, Dan?
There we go. I was trying to get back to a post here so I can see, at least take a look at how many tactics cards they come with, because we can
Right.
find that out from the shop post. On the back of the box, they get 3 Team Tactics cards.
Okay, piggybacking off of what Axel just said in chat, one called I'm Always Hungry, where it gives a character slow as if he's trying to eat them while they're running away. Probably the same card, but it also immediately KOs Wasp.
That's ultimate Blob.
It is. It is.
He was kind of messed up. He was catfishing Beast.
I love that, first off, a lot.
Such a good storyline.
It really is. Blob's story in Decimation, I thought, was incredibly well written.
Really?
He loses his powers.
I mean, Decimation. I was thinking Ultimatum.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, he loses his powers. He loses all the volume of his body, but the skin is still there.
Yeah.
And he has to deal
guy.
with that being depowered, but also having the effects of a physical mutation. I thought it was a really neat
and then when
take on stuff.
Powers came back, he was so depressed because he was like, I just had 4 surgeries to get rid of all this skin, and then he's the Blob again.
Yep.
He's a tortured guy. Like he was a circus sideshow performer, and then he was wrestling the X-Men.
Yeah.
Early days of X-Men are weird.
Yep.
Because he was like X-Men number 3 or something. Or 2 even.
I didn't realize he was that early. That's
he was one of the very first villains. And even then he was just kind of misunderstood. He actually went they went and found him at the circus and they wanted to recruit him, but he was like too much of a jerk. Basically. Okay. Personality clash. And then Xavier was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work out. And then he was like, I'm angry now because it's 1963.
I mean, that's 1963 made a lot of people angry, I'm pretty certain.
Probably.
But yeah, so Dan, you and I played a game this past week.
Oh yeah, we did.
On Oh Yeah, the Power Phase. Our Monday Night Crisis Fight. It's Hecatite. Every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Twitch.
Oh yeah, the Power Phase with no powers.
With no powers. So we talked a little bit about it earlier. A lot of different redemptions you can use over there with channel points. They're all free just for watching the channel. You can give people power, which happened to me a couple times, which was super nice.
Yeah.
You can take power away. You can choose characters that we have to use the following week. So I'll be using Cable this next week.
Oh yeah.
Going up against Taylor, where we're going to be playing some X-Men Gold, as well as some Kabalakith.
Some wild friends.
Some wild friends, so that we can use these fancy new tokens, which don't necessarily represent those particular affiliations, but could be used as such. Link once again is down in the show notes, but this will be one of my first few times going up against a Malekith. I still have yet to play him, but I also might be playing him. I don't actually know which one I'm playing and which one.
Oh yeah, you got to get that figured out, huh?
We got to get that nailed down. Because I know that Taylor would really like to be able to take out a Malekith a second time with Sabretooth.
Oh my god,
and if there's
a
place to do that, it's, I guess, potentially in X-Men Gold.
Does Achilles heel 1-2 punch of Mystique and Sabretooth.
Yeah.
7 threat.
Just
wrecks Malekith.
Dude, so it's so...
He got some good hits in, but not enough.
Mystique's rapid fire always doing so incredibly well whenever I see it deployed. It annihilates Medusas for whatever reason. It's just like, average of 6 damage on a strength 4 rapid fire attack.
There was a game forever ago where I had Deadpool.
Yeah.
I moved him up to the middle of the table because I was like, all you have left is Mystique. She'll get 1 shot in. And she didn't even need rapid fire. She just took him out in 1 volley of her pistol. And I was like, that's not supposed to happen. I didn't even get to use my healing factor. You took all my 4 stamina out.
Right? I don't know what it is. It's just there's a handful of people. You'll always strike the hardest when you're rolling the fewest amount of dice.
It seems like it.
But
Mystique's efficient.
So that's what we'll be doing this upcoming Monday on Oh Yeah, the Power Phase. But this past week, Dan, you and I played some Guardians of the Galaxy against some Midnight Suns. So what were you hoping to happen in that game with Midnight Suns, and what were the things that you did like about them, and what didn't work out as you planned?
Well, I lost Hell on Wheels.
Yeah.
Made me real sad.
Well, let's go through that list real quick, because it's pretty considerable.
I think Wraith put it in the Discord for us, or Alyssa herself did, where she took away a power from every character but Moon Knight and Nebula.
So massive shout out to Wraith, who did compile all of these in the Discord. I'll go through them now.
Just gotta
really
find
quick.
all the channels.
It's pretty considerable, the amount of stuff that got banned there.
But yeah, it was insane. It was really funny. It just kept happening. And then Ben had to finish it up because Alyssa actually ran out of channel points. But she'd been saving up for weeks to do this.
So we had Star-Lord's Hit and Run was banned. Ghost Rider's Hell on Wheels. Black Cat's Master Cat Burglar.
Yeah.
Groot's Tangling Vines. Rocket's Personal Bodyguard.
That was harsh.
Yeah. Blade's Half-Blood Physiology. Hood's Black Arts.
Oh, that was the other one that really hurt.
Gamora's Martial Prowess, and Ronin's The Accuser.
Yeah.
The most impactful ones were certainly Hell on Wheels, Hit and Run, Black Arts, Martial Prowess,
Personal Bodyguard. That one
Personal
that really
Bodyguard
just changed how you
massive.
use Rocket. He just ran off by himself, was blasting people all over the place,
Yeah.
almost exclusively Black Cat, actually.
Yeah.
When he could. But it was simultaneously frustrating and almost liberating in that we had to play the characters differently.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating at first because it's like, I just want to move Ghost Rider more.
Right.
And it was like, okay, what can I do without it, without having that? It had made me think differently. Thankfully, I still had Bump in the Night for a while until you just... Your offense was insane. Round 2, 4 out of 5 characters dazed.
Yeah, it was really just one good turn with a lot of power given to me from chat for Gamora.
That really helped for sure.
Yeah.
Because she was like, hey, Blade? No. And he's down. And she's like, hey, Moon Knight. And he's like, no, please. And then he's down.
Yeah, Gamora's stellar. Like, real good.
Yeah.
Real good. Only strength 6 attacks. That's it. That's all she's got.
Right? That's all she needs.
And one of them can target other people that are right there. And she has a pounce.
It's real good.
Just, yeah, that Assassin's Leap is stellar.
I love it. Yeah, she's really, really good.
And the Guardians as a whole benefited heavily from the November 2021 update.
And they needed it.
They did.
To be honest. Especially, I mean, almost exclusively the winging it tokens. Like,
really
how
good.
it worked before was just one of the rare misfires.
Yeah.
From AMG, I feel like. The rework of it is perfectly fine.
Well, and here's the thing, too, that I really like about the tweaks that AMG has made, is they're normally gains, or net gains. There have been a few characters that were tuned down a little, but...
Nothing crazy.
Even then, it was mostly wording. It was really like adding in that modified dice step ruling.
Or like Medusa has to get one other trigger for her flurry.
Yeah.
And that significantly
pretty minor
changes
overall. Yeah, versus the Guardians being actually pretty formidable. Those wing tokens are stellar. And granted, because like Hit and Run and stuff was banned with Star-Lord, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to have to plan on being defensive with him because he's not going to be moving around a ton unless that's all he's doing. Because I can't get that free move from the Hit and Run, get 2 attacks in. If I'm doing 2 things, I got to save that wing token and bank on the fact that I'll probably roll no successes on my first defense roll and then be able to roll plucky. And then when I roll no successful defenses on that either, then I can use the winging it token. And that happened, and I did that, and then all 3 rolls resulted in no successful blocks.
Naturally.
But, you know, that's the thing I can't do is defense rolls normally.
I think the best part about the rework, the November 21 rework, was the only character that really got significantly nerfed got better. Because Bullseye went from 3 threat to 2 and was a better character for it.
Significantly more popular. He doesn't return my calls anymore. But, yeah, Oh Yea did get... and once again, it wasn't a massive change to how she plays. It was a massive change to her efficacy.
Right. She got her range builder, wasn't a builder anymore, didn't gain power, and her rerolls were only for defense.
Yep.
And I thought that was perfect because at the time she was taken so often in events. She was at like 67%. We've never seen anybody that high since.
Toad.
Has Toad been that high?
Toad's been, like, I don't think he's actually that high, because you're right, I don't think there's been another character that's been that high.
I mean, straight up 2/3 of rosters is too much.
It is too much. But it's one of those things, right, where the characters that we see rise to the top are normally 2s, because there's...
Yes.
Which makes sense, right? You can put them pretty
filler.
much anywhere. Yeah.
Yep.
And you need a 2. You need a 2 on your squad. Like, it is highly suggested to have that there, to be able to make certain threats, especially with certain affiliations.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to have a 5 in there.
Right.
It's fun to include somebody that's a bit stronger, 5 or a 6, or even Malekith or Dormammu. But like the 2 is there for so many reasons. Like I love that they have. I want to see some 1 threats, just because I'm curious what they would do with a 1 threat character. And just for squad building, I think it would open up a lot of options.
I mean, and we've certainly talked about it for, I think, years at this point now, but adding in something similar to gems with equipment.
Right, yeah, equipment cards would be super cool.
Whether it's, and I think there's a lot you could do there to keep them pretty basic. I mean, adding in Unbreakable, Scanner, and Invulnerable, right, for 1 power to give someone damage reduction 1 to a minimum of 1, I think is adequate, right?
Yeah.
You know?
For a threat like that, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Just put a coat on Urza Major, and now he's like real good. He's 5 threat, but still real good.
4+1.
4+1, yes. But yeah, so as far as how Guardians worked out for me, Groot, I Am Groot's really solid.
It's one of those like my favorite kind of spenders.
Yeah.
Or Ursa Majors.
Barehanded or
Bare Knuckle Brawler or something like that. Kingpins.
Oh yeah, Hail to the King,
Hail to
baby.
the King. I know something to the King. Those high dice, relatively high. They're usually strength 7.
Yeah.
But with like an auto throw, or in the case of Ursa Major and
Groot and Kingpin.
Groot are auto stagger. His auto stagger too.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite kind of spender attack, where it's just like, I don't need the stupid wild because I'm not gonna roll it anyway, even with 7 dice.
Right.
Just let me have it.
No, so
I'm spending a bunch of power.
I completely agree. I love those attacks. Groot's is pretty expensive at 5, but it's 8 strength. It's only range 2, but auto stagger and a medium throw, which is the huge part of it.
So far.
To be so effective against a Malekith, being able to throw a Malekith medium, even into his own team, is like awesome. And stagger them. And then you're just
Malekith
hoping...
hates stagger.
He does. Granted, he has an affiliation that makes it very easy to get rid of, but just don't have anyone else daze or KO before a Malekith goes again, and you're fine.
Obviously.
But yeah, Groot can heal. He can heal himself. He's got a Tactics card to heal everybody.
I like that one a lot.
And he's a big part of Deadly Duo. So...
Groot is an underrated 3.
Yeah, I completely agree.
For certain.
And don't let that 2 energy defense fool you. The 4 physical is solid.
Yeah.
And if you don't take him down, he's just going to go and then heal himself.
And his change was so minor, like...
His was a big net gain.
It was a huge gain, but all they did was change his builder from range 2 to range 3.
Right. And then
and he can only do the heal once a turn. Which was absolutely necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, because then it was he's back to full if you don't daze him.
Right. Because he's got 7 health, so he's going to have, if you get him down to 1, like I always do, he's going to have enough health to just go right back up to full, and that's too much. That's too much. But that range 3 builder was so necessary because he's got that short move. Yeah, he's on a medium base, but he never got to attack before.
Right.
And just that increase, because 2 to 3 is a double. It goes from 3 inches to 6 inches. Like, that's a huge change.
Yeah.
So it makes it so we can do his attacks way more often, because I Am Groot's only range 2. I think that's fine because it is so good.
And yeah, just once again, just so stellar to be able to use that on someone like Ghost Rider.
Ugh.
Granted, my root was banned, but that was certainly my goal, was to root as many people as I could. Running into Boom TTFN that played at the What If event at Bearded Dragon Games that we ran. He had Groot and Loki, and I know that's something he runs regularly. Double taxing people is awesome. Awesome.
I don't want to fight that.
Right? Who would? But when you have Ghost Rider, who can really make use of some power, especially with what's the thing
Penance
that he
Stare?
has now? No, not Penance Stare. It's one of the superpowers where he can like deal damage back based on the amount of crit you roll or whatever.
Wicked's Judgment or something?
Yeah. And after an
Is that the
attack
one?
made by a character within range 3 is resolved, if that attack targeted another allied character, you can use a superpower. The attacking character suffers 1 damage for each crit in the roll.
Yeah, I never had Ghost Rider near other people. I thought he'd be able to easily go up against Groot one-on-one. He did take Groot down,
Yeah.
but it took way too long. Because
Fair.
as usual, I got Groot to 1, and then you healed him, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It was just because you shocked me with Ronan.
Yeah.
Was a huge part of that, I think. If I hadn't
The
been
old shock and
shocked,
push.
you probably would have been dazed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So then Ghost Rider would have been in the fight way more than he was.
Yeah, I mean, shock makes Groot's energy defense average energy defense.
Right?
So.
And it's just one of those things we actually remembered it, which was too bad.
That's true. Because what would have happened is you would have rolled that attack, right? And you would have rolled 2 successes and been underwhelmed. You're like, oh, I forgot shock. And you would have re-rolled them all -1 and would have, like, crit 3 times.
That's never happened before.
Just every time you do it, it makes me so mad. That's why I stopped bringing bitter rivals. I don't want you to roll better.
You got so mad that one time, and it was like, this is the most proper way to do it, though. To just
It's not.
re-roll
You
the whole
just take
thing.
off a success. You should have remembered. I think. But.
You put it on me. You need to remind me.
So that's fair. Like
It's on both of us, is what I'm saying.
I think it's 70-30.
Right, because you did the status effect to me.
Right. So
You need to remember it more.
No, I take 30% of the blame for not remembering it. Because if I, as the person who puts it on you, it is not considered cheating if I forget, because I put it on you for an effect. If you don't do it, it could be because you forget or you're cheating.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's why I feel you should always take off 1 success from the roll over re-rolling the whole thing,
Like a
especially if you
penalty?
do better. Yeah, it should be a penalty. Yep. Same with Incinerate or other things of that nature.
Yeah, I think it largely depends on the roll itself too, because
That's why I feel like taking 1 success off is the perfect punishment, because it shouldn't come down to what you rolled. Because then it's unrelative at that point. It's like, well, if you rolled good, then we're going to do this. If I rolled bad, then it's this other thing. So you can't have 2 outcomes. It needs to just be 1. And
you
just
take
having a
roll.
base penalty for the person that really should be remembering it because it's not in their favor.
Yeah, that's entirely fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I was mostly kidding there anyway.
No,
but
yeah.
It's one of those where I feel bad when I forget it, because I don't know, we have like a mental block about shock most of the time. I always forget it.
Yeah.
Incinerate, we're way better about. I think because in general we like Incinerate more.
Yeah.
But shock can be as debilitating in a way.
Yeah, it's one of those math hammer things, right? So Incinerate is more impactful.
Yeah, because you got fewer of those dice to begin with.
Correct. And you have a significantly lower chance of rolling a success there anyway. While shock, you have a significantly higher. Yeah, so it's half of one, 3 dozen of another, but
Right.
But yeah. So with that said, Dan, unless there's anything else you wanted to add, I think that we will bring this episode to a close. But before I do, once again, in the show notes, in the description, we have some sleeves and tokens for sale. We're working with our very close friends over at the 5th Trooper to be able to put out some MCP-style products that you can use for actually most games, because it's sleeves and also tokens. Check them out. Pre-orders are up now for the first 2 rounds. We have the Gold Friends and the Wild Friends. It comes with 5 tokens that you can use to plop down what you own, 1 big one to track your victory points, and then 10 sleeves that have a little faction backing on it, so you can really strut your stuff at conventions or your local game store, as well as 6 additional sleeves, 3 for your secures, 3 for your extracts.
A cool design.
With super cool designs. We're going to be bringing out 2 every month for the next considerable while. So if you haven't already, head over to patreon.com/professionalcasual, or if you subscribe here on Twitch, you'll get access to the Discord and to our Patreon only show, The Cleanup Phase, which is normally once a month on a Thursday night, right after this show here. You'll get access to that, as well as the Discord, as well as a whole bunch of additional content, full shows, video for all of our other podcasts. If maybe you're into some Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Dan runs 2 incredible Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay games with more Warhammer Fantasy and Soulbound content coming down the pipe as well.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we play Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I have an actual play podcast for that called the Lost Omens Podcast, and a Patreon-only show as well called The Slithering. In addition to all those things, we are also very happy to be welcoming Joe Gennaro of the Comic Book Rundown to the network as well. So starting very soon, his format will be changing. He'll be updating on Fridays here soon, having a longer episode where he runs through comics of today and yesteryear, going through arcs as a whole, explaining the story from as far back as the 40s, 50s, and 60s, all the way up to present day stuff. Super good guy. Him and Ron put together a very good show, and they're very, very, very welcome amongst the professional casual network group.
Wee.
And if that wasn't enough, Monday nights we stream Oh Yeah, the Power Phase for some live Marvel Crisis Protocol. Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, Taylor streams a hobby hangout. Listen, grab your sprues, grab the stuff that you know you need to get together, grab those gray models that maybe they're primed, maybe they're not, but get them ready, get them done, and hang out with Taylor as he goes through his, or more specifically, my backlog as well. And then, obviously, we have the Patreon. In addition to all the other stuff that we went over earlier, it actually helps us quite a bit. There's a lot of costs associated with running the show, keeping equipment up to date, and being able to travel to the places we need to go to stream conventions. I cannot mention how expensive they are to get to, and to be able to do what we do at. So really appreciate your support there. We literally, honestly, would not and could not be doing it without you. So really appreciate those people, especially our professional cake sitters and our King Ding doppelgangers, including Bicon, Bastion, Leroy, Rob,
Cider
Drinker, and Hot Hands Tony over at beardeddragongames.online.
Hot Hands.
Speaking of, every Monday, we stream Oh Yeah, the Power Phase from Bearded Dragon Games. It's a local game store here. They are going to be updating and upgrading soon, moving to a bigger spot where we're going to be running a whole bunch of events regularly. I don't know if it'll be every month, but I mean, that's the goal, eventually, to be running MCP stuff on a very regular basis there. You can support them and support our local game store by making them your local game store at beardeddragongames.online. Use code PCME10 at checkout for 10% off your order. Or if you're pre-ordering any Marvel Crisis Protocol models, right now the Sentinels are still up there. Blob and Pyro, the new Sabretooth and Wolverine rival set, as well as Red Skull Master of Hydra are all up there for 15% off. You don't need a code. Just for pre-ordering it, you get a pretty decent discount over retail.
Yeah, for real.
So head over there, beardeddragongames.online, help them out, it helps us out, and tells them thank you for letting us stream from their store every Monday when they're normally closed. But with that, everybody, stay safe. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. I love you, and bye.
Love you, bye. Okay, I love you, bye-bye.
I love you, Daddy.